What's up everyone, I'm Galarian Moltres, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing what I believe to be the most underrated Pokemon in the Willpower Cup meta, and that is Lucario. Lucario, obviously he's going to be destroying those Umbreon, those Pawniards, also very dominant in the matchups up against those dark poison types which are very common, and because we're running Power Punch and Close Combat, we're also going to be winning in the matchup up against Mandibuzz, which, considering it's on almost every single team, I think that is a very nice resume for the Lucario. Because we don't have Shadow Ball, we of course sacrifice that coverage up against Psychic types, and because of the Steel typing, we're going to be weak to other fighting types, so I've got two Dark types in the back that do also hold their own up against most fighting types, in Galarian Moltres and Shadow Sableye. I actually think Shadow Sableye is slightly better in this cup than the purified version because that bonus damage output is really handy, because a lot of these Psychic types in this meta are quite glassy, so you can often one shield and then fully farm them down and then come out with a ton of energy, and unless you're seeing something like a Scrafty, you're going to be able to output a decent amount of damage with those charge moves against the majority of the meta. So with that being said, let's get into the question of the day. What has been the MVP for you so far in the early Willpower Cup meta? Let me know in the comment section below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle here, we're going to be leading into a Pawniard, so a very good lead. They're going to save swap into Mandibuzz, so this is going absolutely perfectly so far. We're going to shield up this charge move, going to build up to the back-to-back close combats, and because of the counter damage we've already output so far, this close combat is going to be very close to taking out the Mandibuzz. One more counter does the job, and now I'm going to swap straight away into my Galarian Moltres, preserve the Lucario for the Pawniard that is in the back. Now I'm going to go straight for an Ancient Power. I'm guessing they're probably going to start shielding up because they do have that Pawniard in the back. They want to make sure the Rapidash is alive so that they can take out my Lucario. I'm going to let the charge move go through. It's a Mega Horn. It's enough to take me out. Now I'm going to come in with my Shadow Sableye. They're going to swap into the Pawniard. Now this is fine. They're going to go for a Night Slash here, and I don't have to shield the first charge move here. Night Slash does an okay amount of damage, but it's not enough to threaten a shield. My Switch Clock barely doesn't come up in time, so I have to shield the next one. I've got nearly 2 Foul Plays loaded already. We're going to go for a Power Punch bait up against this Galarian Rapidash, and then go for a Close Combat. And even though this is double resisted by the Psychic Fairy typing, Close Combat is enough to take out the Rapidash from about half health, and I'm able to take that game. Into the next game, we lead into a Defense Form Deoxys, so this is not good. My opponent very quick with their counter swap here. They're going to come in with a Zweilous, and unfortunately this isn't a matchup I'm going to be able to win if we do start shielding, so I'm going to let the move go through, and I'm just going to guarantee I get a shield advantage in this matchup, and I am able to with that Brave Bird there. So my opponent able to farm me down, but the energy isn't going to be that useful because Lucario is going to be able to resist everything this Zweilous throws. Body Slam doesn't do an awful lot of damage. These Dragon Breaths are adding up, but not enough to really threaten the Lucario. We're going to swap out straight away. Maybe I should have banked a Close Combat, and I think I definitely should have, because they come in with an Umbreon, and here this is a pretty tricky situation. This is a matchup where the Purified Sableye would be better because of course it does have a little bit more bulk, and as well the returns are a bit more threatening than Power Gem. We're going to let this second charge move go through. It is another foul play, of course. We're going to go for the Power Gem here, and this actually gets the final shield from my opponent. So I'm going to shield up this foul play, bank my own foul play, and then try to swap into the Lucario and get off the close combat, but my opponent is able to catch the charge move onto the Defense Form Deoxys. So if we did bank that close combat, we would have got there one fast move sooner, and I might have been able to take out that Umbreon there and win the game. But as things stand, we go for a foul play, but this Umbreon nearly at another charge move, they're able to get to the foul play, and they do take me out there. So unfortunately, we do lose that game. So that is a scenario where it would have been better if we had Shadow Ball, but oh well. Into the next game, we lead into a Bronzong. Didn't see this very often. I'm going to go for a close combat here. Not enough energy for the Shadow Ball, so my opponent no shields it, and the close combat takes them out. They're going to come in with a Medicham. I'm going to swap into the Galarian Moltres, tank an Ice Punch fairly comfortably. They're now going to swap into a Zweilous. We should be able to get a shield here, or this Brave Bird will do huge damage, and it does huge damage. They actually survive, and they hold on with about 1 HP remaining. I'm going to come in with the Lucario, tank the energy here, and we should be in a very good scenario here because we've got a Shadow Sableye with 2 shields. This Medicham has a slight energy advantage, but there's literally nothing they can do here, so they concede the match. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead into a Liepard, probably running Charm. They're going to save swap into Mandibuzz, so we're going to go for a close combat straight away and then swap into our Moltres. We get a shield from the Mandibuzz, and that is fine, because here we don't have to tank, or we don't have to shield the first move, although we will probably shield the second one, because if they do decide to shield our Brave Bird, they might be able to air/farm us down. But at this point, we're going to go for the Brave Bird here, up against this Mandibuzz, and Brave Bird does take them out, so that is good for us. Ancient Power probably wouldn't quite have been enough to take them out, and now here we're able to get to another Ancient Power. Have they been counting my energy? No, because they put up a shield. We're going to come in with the Lucario here. My opponent stays in initially, and now they're going to swap into a Gothitelle, and we are going to be able to get to a foul play here. So fortunately for us, all shields are down. Foul play enough to take them out there. They're going to come back in with the Liepard, but I'm going to be able to get to a close combat here, and this will easily take out the Liepard, probably from full health as well, and I'm able to take that game up against a double Charm team. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see an Alolan Raichu. This is pretty tricky for me, so I'm not really sure how to play this matchup. Of course, we don't have that Shadow Ball, so we're not going to be able to take them out, but my opponent catches the charge move here. It is a close combat, and that does big damage up against the Mandibuzz, and now from this point, we should be good here, because I will be able to guarantee I get the alignment I want. They're going to go for an Aerial Ace here. I'm going to go for an Ancient Power just before they get to the next charge move. And we do have the back-to-back Ancient Powers loaded. So if they shield this, I would be able to get to another one. There's no point me throwing straight away here because I'm going to lose CMP. So I went for the extra wing attack. Unfortunately, they throw straight away. But that is perfectly fine with me because I'm now able to fully farm them down. And from this point, even though my opponent has 2 shields, we're looking to be in a very comfortable situation. Power Gem goes unshielded. And I'm able to get to a second Power Gem on their CMP tie with this Umbreon for the foul play. The second one also goes unshielded. They're probably calling a foul play bait because that's probably their only win condition. They've already seen me go for a close combat, so they're going to shield up in this matchup, but I'm running Power Punch as well. My opponent realizes they're going to be losing that game, so they concede the match. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead into a Medicham. Gonna swap into the Galarian Moltres. My opponent responds with a Drapion. I'm gonna wait until they throw first because otherwise I don't want to debuff my defense and then let them take me out with a Sludge Bomb. We're gonna go for the Brave Bird now. From this range, this will probably take them out. So we get a shield from the Drapion and we force them to throw their energy as well, which is very nice. They're going for an Aquatail, so that is a little bit less comfortable for my Lucario because 2 Aquatails will put me into very close range to being farmed down. They go for the first Aquatail here. They're going to be able to get to another Aquatail, and my opponent is probably going to try and snipe me with the Medicham. But we barely hang on. I'm able to swap out before they take me out, and now we do have a chance to win this match here. I'm going to shield up this Ice Punch. They're going to be able to get to another Ice Punch, but I'm hoping I'm going to be able to fully Shadow Claw, farm down this Medicham before they get to a third Ice Punch, and we're going to see that we are able to, which is perfect. They're going to come back in with the Drapion. I'm going to throw straight away. I've already got 100 energy. We take them out with a foul play. They've got a Shadow Skuntank in the back, and because we are a Shadow, we can just go straight for these foul plays. The first one goes unshielded. It does about 50% of their health, meaning they will have to shield the second one, but we've got a close combat loaded already, and from this range, this is easily going to be taking out the Skuntank, and I'm able to take that game there. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead into a Galarian Rapidash, so another core breaker to this team. Very tricky lead for us here. I'm not really sure how to play this. I am going to shield the first charge move, I believe. and it is just a body slam bait, which is painful. We're going to go for a power punch bait of our own, of course. My opponent doesn't know we're not running Shadow Ball. They're going to swap out into a Gothitelle, and we're just going to go for a close combat. Even though it's resisted, it will do a lot of damage, but unfortunately it gets shielded. This is kind of tricky because my Galarian Moltres is going to have to shield up this charge move. It's going to be a Rock Slide, and we're going to go for an Ancient Power. I'm hoping this will put them into range for me to farm them down, but it's actually fairly bulky here, so it does tank that, and I make a mistake here of going for the charge move and taking them out. What I should have done is just let them take me out. They wouldn't have got to another charge move. I could have farmed them down with the Sableye, but now this Rapidash is able to get some nice farm on my Moltres, and they're going to have a lot of energy. We're going to swap, try catch the charge move. My opponent throws their move just before we get to the close combat, so very nice timing there, and unfortunately they're going to get to another charge move here. They are just running Mega Horn, so we do tank that, and they've got a Cresselia in the back, so unfortunately we're not quite going to be able to take them out with a foul play here. This will do a lot of damage, but they will get to a Grass Knot, and from this range this will be taking out my Sableye, and we do lose that game there. So GG's to that opponent there. Not really expecting to see a triple Psychic team, but hey-oh, it does seem to work there, as we saw in that battle. Into the next game, we lead into a Victini. We're going to save swap into the Moltres. They're going to go for a V-Create. We can tank it, so I'm going to let it go through. They're going to come in with an Umbreon. We're going to go straight for the Brave Bird. There's literally no point baiting here. And we actually get a shield from this Umbreon, which I was not expecting, because Umbreon, of course, going to be absolutely walled by the Lucario. They're going to go for a foul play. They do have a ton of energy loaded, which is nice for them, but Lucario, even being very squishy, can comfortably tank 2 charge moves from this Umbreon. We're going to go for a power punch here just to make the farm down a little bit more comfortable. And they're going to let it go through. They're going to come in with Sableye. We're going to go for a close combat here, guarantee some massive damage, or get the final shield from my opponent. We do get the final shield here. And at this point, it's a little bit tricky. We know that we're going to have to shield up these charge moves, and this will be a CMP tie, and because of my IVs, I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose that CMP, so I do go for the overfarm, go for another shield. We're going to throw just before they get to the final foul play here, and our foul play enough to take out this Sableye. They're going to come back in with Umbreon. They're already at another charge move here. Foul play not enough to take me out. I'm going to overfarm as much as possible, go for the power gem. I'm really hoping this is going to be enough to take out the Umbreon, and it is enough, and we do survive the quick attacks from this Victini, get to a foul play, and from the Shadow Sableye, that is enough to take out the Victini, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead Lucario into another Victini. So we're going to play this out exactly the same. Swap into my Moltres here. This time they're overfarming a bit. This could potentially be an overheat, but they just go for a V-Create. They are going to swap and catch the charge move onto an Alolan Raichu. So really nice catch there by my opponent. They're also going to be able to farm me down. So I'm actually going to come in with my Sableye here, and they should only be able to get to 1 charge move if they go for a wild charge, which they do, and now that Shadow Claw is enough to take them out fully, so that is really nice. Their switch clock is misaligned to ours, so I'm going to swap into the Lucario here, and they're not able to swap out straight away, which is really nice because I get a little bit of an energy advantage here. Going into this Victini, we're going for the close combat, and we get a shield from this Victini, which is nice. They're also forced to throw their charge move because quick attacks aren't doing enough damage to take me out. We're going to come in with Sableye. We can safely shield this charge move. Going to do more damage than a Crunch from Drapion, and because they lower their defense, it's an easy farm down for me. We're going for a foul play bait here, probably still enough to barely take them out. Well, after a few Shadow Claws, but it doesn't really matter. They shield it up, they go for a Crunch, it doesn't take me out, and now we have a Power Gem loaded on the Sableye, and Power Gem is enough to take out the Shadow Drapion, and I'm able to take that game. So into the next game here, we lead into a Mandibuzz, so I'm just going to go straight for a close combat here, and then swap into my Galarian Moltres. My opponent is going to let the close combat go through. It does huge damage. They farm up a little bit more extra energy, and they're going to come in with an Umbreon. We're going to let this charge move go through. If it's a last resort, we can comfortably tank it. We're going to go for a Brave Bird here, and then hopefully we'll be able to get to 1 more Brave Bird up against this Umbreon. And my opponent does allow me to get there, which is perfect. We're going for the second Brave Bird. It does land this time. Umbreon's such a tank though, so it made that looked like it was just a sky attack. We're going to let that charge move go through, come in with Lucario, let this charge move go through as well. We will resist everything here. It is just a foul play. They're going to come in with the Mandibuzz here. I'm going to shield this up, go for a power punch bait, expecting to get a shield from this Mandibuzz. We don't get the shield, but I'm able to counter farm them down. And we're going to see what they have in the back. And unfortunately, it's a Scrafty. I'm barely not able to get to the power punch. And this is going to be very difficult here because Shadow Sableye doesn't have that return, so the best we can do is go for a Power Gem, but that's still resisted by Scrafty's fighting typing, so a very difficult matchup here. We're going to shield up this charge move here. I'm expecting them to try and catch a charge move, so I'm just going to keep on over farming. My opponent does go for the catch there. I'm able to get to the Power Gem, but even from a Shadow, Power Gem, not a very good move. Resisted is not quite enough to take out the Scrafty, and we do lose that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead into a Wobbuffet, probably going to be Charmed. So honestly, not doing an awful lot of damage to Lucario. So I'm going to bank a close combat and then swap into my Galarian Moltres. I know the Charm is super effective, but it's not doing that much damage. They go for a Mirror Coat, which does probably about the same as a Charm. So kind of pointless throwing there. We go for a Brave Bird here, and I'm going to be able to get to another Brave Bird before this Wobbuffet is able to take me out, which is perfect. And Brave Bird does take out the Wobbuffet, but unfortunately they've got a Shadow Gallade. I'm going to come in with Lucario for some reason. I don't know why I did that. Now I'm going to swap into Sableye. What I should have done is just come in with the Sableye there, and then they would have swapped into the Liepard. I could have come back in with Lucario, but I've kind of messed this up, and we're going to be losing to a triple charm team here in the Willpower Cup, so that is unfortunate. Definitely a misplay by me. I was expecting maybe another Psychic Charmer there, so yeah, misplay there, but unfortunately that does happen. We're not able to read the team. Anyways, into the next game, we're going to go for a close combat here up against this Mandibuzz and then swap into our Moltres, and we should be in a pretty comfortable position here. Once again, I'm going to let the first charge move go through and then shield the second one, and then we are going to overfarm, go for 4 more wing attacks, and then go for the Brave Bird here, and from this range, Brave Bird will be enough to take out the Mandibuzz. And we're going to see they come back in with their Shadow Skuntank, and I'm barely able to get to another Brave Bird here up against the Skuntank, and we get the final shield from my opponent. We're going to come in with the Lucario. This could potentially be a flamethrower. It's probably going to be a crunch bait, and it is, which is unfortunate, but I'm going to go for a close combat here, and even though it's resisted, close combat does about 50 to 60% of Sableye's health, and actually puts them into range where I'm going to come in with my Shadow Sableye and fully Shadow Claw, farm them down. Just before they get to the next charge move, I can now go for a Power Gem, and up against a Shadow Skuntank, that barely isn't enough to take them out, but I can Shadow Claw, farm them down, and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead into another Galarian Rapidash. Once again, very difficult scenario for me here. I'm going to overfarm. They go for the charge move here. I'm going to call the bait, and it is just a Body Slam, so that's a good call there. We're going to go for our own bait. I don't really consider this a bait because we actually have to boost our attack so that we can go for a close combat, and that will do more damage. They go for another Body Slam, of course. We're going to go for the close combat here. And we do get the final shield from my opponent, and now I'm going to swap into my Moltres. I am probably going to shield up this charge move. It is a Mega Horn again, so once again, they're not running the play rough. They're going to come in with Drapion. I should wait for them to throw their charge move, but I don't. And now we go for a Brave Bird. It's not quite enough to take them out just yet, and they're going to be able to take me out with a Sludge Bomb here. But that might play in my favor because I'm going to be able to come in with my Sableye and get 2 extra Shadow Claws in before we take them out. Now they're going to come in with their own Sableye here, so I'm going to go for a foul play up against the Sableye. It's not going to be enough to take them out, but I'm going to swap and catch the charge move perfectly onto the Lucario, but they undercharge it. Very nice play because they can now come in with the Rapidash, farm me down, and now they're able to get to another Mega Horn here, and Mega Horn takes out the Sableye, and they're able to take that game. It's a very nice play there after I was able to make that catch to make sure they still were able to win that game. So GG's there. Into the next game, you see we've now substituted out the Moltres for a Galarian Rapidash because I was getting a bit unstuck up against those Galarian Rapidash or Alolan Raichu leads, so I swap into a Rapidash instead. We're able to get both shields from this Sableye, but they are able to fully farm me down. And now Lucario is actually going to resist everything Sableye throws, so I'm going to let the first charge move go through. They go for a foul play. They're obviously going to be at the back-to-back already. I'm hoping I can get to a close combat before they get to a third one. But my opponent is going to swap into Medicham, so I'm going to swap into my Sableye here. Going to let the first charge move go through. Ice Punch, not going to do an awful lot of damage. They're already at the second Ice Punch, so I made a bit of a mistake there thinking that I could overfarm more, but that's fine. I'm going to farm up to pretty much the back-to-back foul plays here. Go for the first one. We take out the Medicham. My opponent's going to come in with an Umbreon, so I'm able to get to a Power Gem up against this Umbreon before they snarl farm me down. And now I'm going to swap into my Lucario here, hold on to my energy, wait for the Sableye to come back in. I know they're not quite at another charge move, so I do overfarm just a little bit. We go for the close combat, we take out the Sableye, we go for another close combat, and this will be enough to take out the Umbreon, and Lucario is able to sweep this game. So GG's to that opponent there, and into the final battle of this video, Lucario into Mandibuzz yet again. So once again, we're going to go for a close combat and then dip into our Galarian Rapidash, now that we're not running the Galarian Moltres. We're able to land the close combat, it does huge damage. I'm going to swap here and catch the charge move onto my Rapidash. They go for an Aerial Ace, and they're going to come in with a Drapion. This is not great, but they're not going to be able to farm me down with Poison Stings, so I'm going to go for a Body Slam here on the CMP tie with the Crunch, and it is a CMP tie, but my opponent is going to undercharge that, and they get the defense drop, so I'm not even going to be able to get to a play rough here. So very nice play by my opponent. I'm only able to get to a Body Slam, so I'm thinking that they've got Mandibuzz and a Dark Poison. It's potentially going to be a double Dark Poison team here. So I'm going to tank the charge move on Sableye, come back in with Lucario. We've already revealed close combat, so they're probably going to shield this charge move here from the Lucario. But it's just a Power Punch, so it's going to boost my attack. We're able to get to another Power Punch, and because our attack is boosted, this is probably also going to get a shield from the Skuntank. They try snipe me with the Mandibuzz, but our attack is so boosted we're able to counter farm them down, and my opponent realizes they're going to lose that game, so they concede the match. So GG's to that opponent there. So that's going to be it for today's video. I just want to clarify that you don't need to have a Galarian Moltres and a Shadow Sableye to make Lucario work in this meta. You could of course run Mandibuzz and Purified Sableye, or you could do what I did towards the end of this video and run Galarian Rapidash. I just like to run more unique Pokemon, so that's why I've gone for this team, but any of those combinations would also work pretty well. Now on day one, I had a lot of success with this team. I think I gained about 150 elo in 5 sets, so a very successful day. Day 2, I didn't have as much success. We started seeing a lot more Toxicroak and a lot of teams that kind of just ABB hard countered this team, which was very unfortunate, but that is how things go sometimes. Overall, I've still managed to go positive, so the team does work for me. I'm probably going to make a slight adjustment with the Galarian Moltres, swapping it out for something else and see if I can push to Legend with this team. But with that being said, let's get into the shoutouts from my previous video. So firstly, we got Tsar Alexander IV, or Caesar, I don't know, but I'm guessing it was rough 1. Honestly, the feeling after an 05 is the worst. I had the weirdest 0-5 to end the night, where random lag spikes and poor undercharges just kept biting me back down to 2600. So yeah, they were the only person to correctly guess it, although since they're commenting about the 0-5, potentially they'd already seen the first set, I'm not really sure, but only person to get it right, so they're getting a shout out here. So we've got Dogan Coben here who says, "Hi Calamon Toast, you know your videos are for entertainment, right? Back-to-back losing and misplaying matches are not fun. You're doing a lot, and I started thinking if your videos are time wasting. You don't have to put 05 games on YouTube, edit and put some good matches and make your audience entertained." Now firstly, I want to say that I'm not highlighting this comment. to say that, oh, this person was mean to me in the comment section. It is feedback after all, and what I want is to create the best content for you guys. So if you don't enjoy my videos, then make sure you do tell me and let me know what I can do to improve them, like this person has done. Luckily for them, the majority of the videos that I make, I do sort of edit and put the best matches that I have so that I can entertain you. That video was a different style of video. I took a risk, and I do understand that some people would have been disappointed expecting some crazy entertaining gameplay on my end, and felt maybe that it was a bit disappointing to see me lose so much, but I do appreciate the feedback, and if you were watching today's video, I hope that it makes up for my previous video. But I did also see a ton of positive feedback in the comment section, so I really appreciate everyone that gave their feedback, both positive and negative. I took a bit of a risk, and I'm very glad to see that a lot of people did enjoy the video despite it being very different from my usual videos. It's not the style of video that I intend on making very frequently, so don't expect that kind of content every week, but on the odd occasion that I have a really rough day and I make a video out of it, it is nice to know that there are so many of you that enjoyed that style of content. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.